Hello, you beautiful legends, and welcome to Blunt Force Healing Podcast. This is episode number 710, and I titled it Departed. I'm not sure if it's the right tense. I probably should have called it Departing, and maybe I'll change that before I publish because. Well, I mentioned that in a couple of episodes already recently. I was leaving my job, and it was a bit of a long process because it needed a couple of days and probably weeks to complete and do the handovers, etc. But let's make it in a structured way. So, just a reminder for anyone new to the project, this is a journal, and specifically, I'm journaling about days prior to when I recorded. So, we are at the moment on Wednesday, but I will be journaling about Tuesday. And this project is made up of two elements: the blog and the podcast. So if you're watching me or listening to me, this is the secondary, or I would say second part of the project, while the first part is the blog. And every day for consecutive 710 days, as the title says, every day I was writing the blog post and then recording the podcast. And they both complement each other, so it's never exactly the same. And the most centralized point is probably the blog, because I write the blog post, and every time I write it, at the top, after first paragraph or introduction, I embed this YouTube video update or episode of the podcast, so you can consume the whole project in a single place, which is the blog bluntforcehealing.wordpress.com or www.bluntforcehealing.com. So let's get straight into it. Tuesday started quite busy because this was the last day that I had access to corporate resources, and I had a couple of meetings planned, not only those that I had goodbyes planned for them, but also a couple of handovers, and then final checklist with my manager to make sure that everything is in order before I go on garden leave, which is basically time when I still get paid as normal employee for a while, even though I am not performing any duties. This is just a kind of standard in situations where any type of redundancy is completed, regardless if it's voluntary redundancy, like in my case, or if it's redundancy, forced redundancy. So that's why it was a very hectic day. Not much we could have planned because those meetings were, already scheduled. And fortunately, we were not deploying Sona as usual on Tuesday, so it was a day off from business perspective. In between the meetings, we drove to Rosnala. Elizabeth and Julian sat with me in the car. We got some scones and coffee, and we had a nice chat, and then they went for their walk along the beach while I dialed in and completed one of longer meetings with all those handovers and farewells. And later on, after we completed the whole thing, I decided to, at the end of the day, to go for some grocery shopping. We did the dinner, and Julian wanted to use his last day at home before the school year started to play a bit more of games. Elizabeth had her own things to do, so I decided to use the daylight and jump. Oh, is it a tick? It is indeed. Wow. I discovered a tick live on the, well, almost live on the video. I need to take it off. I felt like something is a bit itchy, but it's the first time that it went that far. They usually don't go that far. They travel upward because they come from grass and leafy areas, but they usually stop somewhere along the way. Looks like I have another one. Oh, crap. I have another one. I really need to check myself after yesterday. This is exactly what I wanted to top it up with. So the end of the day, I decided to go to Eni Water and check if the mushrooms started showing up. And it was a very nice walk in the woods. Initially, I didn't find anything interesting, but later on, I found a couple of boletes, some chanterelles, horns of plenty, and even hedgehog mushrooms, which is quite unusual for this time of year. Not super unusual, but they usually come late. And while the season started later, it seems like some of the mushrooms appear earlier, so it's weird. So yeah, it was a very fruitful trip, but as you could see, I did bring more than just mushrooms from this trip to the forest. So let me just wrap up and take care of those ticks, because they shouldn't be sitting on my skin for too long, especially that they already, both of them, bit into my legs, so they are already drinking the blood. So I need to take them off to minimize the risk of any disease or anything like that any pathogen that they could transfer to me. So yeah, that's it for today. Thank you very much for being here. Have a great rest of the day, afternoon, evening, wherever you are. Stay tuned and see you again tomorrow.